Welcome to Doctrine and Devotion, a podcast that explores Christian faith and practice from a Reformed Baptist perspective. My name is Joe Thorne. I'm the lead pastor of Redeemer Fellowship in St. Charles, Illinois.
And I'm Jimmy Fowler, executive pastor at Redeemer Fellowship.
Fat and happy. That's how I feel right now. Fat and happy.
Like P-H-A-T?
F-A-T. Because my weight is up a little bit, and we just shared at least a pound of gizzards.
Yep, yes we did.
We had a pound of fried gizzards.
Yes we did. When you sent that text, I was like, yes, I do want some.
Well, neither one of us had eaten all day.
Nope.
Just been working.
Yep.
When did you get to work? When did you start working, I should say?
Oh, you know what? Today was actually a lazy morning.
Okay. What is that? 6?
No. Like 8:39.
Ooh,
Yeah.
you got to work late. That is super late for you.
That is.
Wow.
That is. So first day, the kids didn't have school, so we had a lazy
Oh, you hung
morning.
out. Nice.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
Lazy morning.
See, hey, people, pay attention. Listen to Papa Jimmy here. You see, now Jimmy's usually out the door working, European phone calls, blah blah, jet setting, deals, handshake, back rooms, all that stuff.
No back rooms.
I don't know how it works, but I'm just saying.
Cigar rooms.
That's
what the deals are.
Okay, all right, champagne rooms, whatever. I don't know what kind of rooms you're in. I'm just saying. Why do they call it? Do they serve champagne? Okay, the point is, Jimmy made time just to hang out with the fam, and that was really cool.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but we hadn't. So did you have breakfast?
Yes, my wife made me breakfast.
Okay, so you have eaten today.
Yeah.
See, one of us didn't eat all day, and one of us just said that they hadn't eaten all day. You had breakfast.
I had breakfast.
I didn't have breakfast.
Oh, well, sorry.
I hadn't eaten. When I say I haven't eaten all day, I mean I haven't eaten all day.
Okay. You win.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
You win.
Again.
You win the Misery Olympics.
I win the complaint award. So, yeah, we hadn't eaten, and we were super hungry, and we were getting ready. We were like, let's go and record, and yeah, I just thought we need some gizzards. And but you see how I buried it? I said we could do pizza or wings or gizzards. And Jimmy goes right. He's like, I can't say no to gizzards.
Yeah, I can't say no to gizzards. I can say no to all the other things.
Feeling good, and I'm drinking this. My wife turned me on to this Monster Energy drink. Oh, now it's not the normal Monster Energy because I don't like. I'm
about to say you've been on a healthy thing, and so I'm surprised to see Monster Energy.
I'm not a healthy thing eating gizzards, but
you cheat day.
Yeah. But no, this is actually Monster's tea. It's a dragon tea, and it's a green tea energy drink, and it's not real sweet.
Look at how highfalutin you are.
You know what? Super nummy. Well, Monster tea.
Monster tea.
It's kind of horror,
Yeah, I guess so. Man, look at you. Just, gosh,
So we are, this is dropping what, after Christmas? I don't remember.
No, this is going to drop tomorrow.
So wait, what's that? Oh, this is drop. What day will this drop? Tuesday.
Tuesday or Wednesday, whichever
Tuesday or
one.
Wednesday. Okay, so the week of Christmas.
That's
when this is dropping. Yep. Okay. All right. Yeah, man. Are you excited?
I'm pumped.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you know what you got your kids for Christmas?
Yes. No.
Yeah, okay. Seriously, dude. I just gave you props for being a good dad. And you don't even know.
Well, I gave my wife like 3 ideas. I don't know which one she's going to choose from.
Are they...
Okay. Are they what?
3 ideas, meaning like 3 bricks of cash.
Oh,
is that how you do? It's like just take care of it. Just go get something.
No. I gave her 3 ideas, and let's see what she picks out of them.
Okay, that's better than not knowing anything.
Yeah,
so that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, man, Christmas is coming up. It should be fun. And Pat's preaching this coming Sunday. I'm preaching for the Christmas Eve service.
That's right.
And then we're going to be getting into Revelation. Yeah.
Yeah. You ready?
I'm ready.
Oh
yeah,
man,
can't wait. It's going to be good.
It's going to be great.
So you've been. Did you read that article? I know we both wound up looking at it on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I read it.
The Julie Roy's. The Roy's Report article.
The Roy's Report article. I have read it.
Members of John MacArthur's church say they're being pressured not to report new COVID outbreak. That's the title of their December 20th report. So before we even get into this, we don't spend tons of time on this kind of stuff, but whenever it turns out to be like, hey, this is actually something worth talking about, or we find it interesting and we think you'll find it beneficial, we'll do that. So this is one of the things we wanted to talk about today. And I think you and I both have the same kind of vibe about JMac, which is used by the Lord, a lot of respect for him in many ways.
Yeah, used by the Lord in immensely fantastic ways.
And attitudinally, not our favorite model, a role model these days.
Nope.
what's this article all about? What is the gist of it if people haven't read it yet?
So the gist of it is, so MacArthur's church has defied county orders about banning indoor worship. And so,
but they have like plastic dividers in between the people and lots of masks and stuff.
Nope. Rarely masks.
Yeah.
And just crammed in.
Yeah. Packed in. It's pretty much church as usual for them.
Yeah. And I think 7,000 members, 7,000 attendees, something like that.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that.
Thousands of people. And they've been
I read that in here, 7,000 somewhere.
I know that they've been getting, pushback because of this, because to many it seems like they're not taking the COVID crisis seriously. And then others would say, well, it's not a serious thing anyways. Mm-hmm, and others would say, hey, it's their issue. It's their decision. Leave them alone. All right. So go ahead. What's this article about?
So it's not even so much about a quote unquote COVID outbreak, right? Because what really quantifies as an outbreak? Because according to this article, in LA County, I think it's like 3 or more in a certain time period constitutes an outbreak. So let's make sure we bear that in mind when they talk about new COVID outbreak. But it's not necessarily about the quote unquote outbreak. It's more about individuals, or let me rephrase that. Julie Rowe is reporting that individuals are being pressured not to report.
Right. So the outbreak itself that she's referring to is simply that a number of people, and a good number of people, have tested positive for COVID. And she's got screen grabs and stuff, like people talking about it on Facebook. It's not like it's a giant secret, apparently, because they're talking about it.
But then even
Facebook.
Individuals that are not named, that want their name withheld, sharing about the news.
Yeah, sharing about the news. And yeah, there's this, and I don't know if you find a specific quote in here, but yeah, there are people that are saying that they feel pressured not to talk about that they have COVID, report that they have COVID.
Yeah. One individual I talked about, out of fear of you're going to need to look for a new job. Right. Yeah. Like here, I asked the GCC leader about Zorro's account, and he confirmed that GCC had a Christmas party on December 8th, but he added, quote, John MacArthur will never, all caps, never admit that number. I have no doubt that it is true, but any church leader who publicly affirms that will be looking for a new job. And that number that they're talking about is not necessarily about, I can't tell if it's about how many people attended the Christmas party or are exhibiting symptoms or have COVID. So that's a little unclear there.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, any church leader who publicly affirms that will be looking for a new job. And then later on, under intimidation, Julie writes, I spoke with multiple members of Grace Community Church this week who said they were scared of speaking out about the outbreak for fear of retribution. Some said they feared losing their jobs. Others said they feared being ostracized and losing their community.
Okay. So now I think we've both have said this. I know I've said this, that every church is responsible for itself.
Yep.
And I hope that they all, do their best and work hard to comport with what is biblical and what is sensible and all of that. But ultimately, churches are going to figure out their own thing. Mm-hmm. And we don't function the way Grace does. We're having worship, but we have protocols in place and distance and all of that. So it's really not so much about the fact that they're having services that I think we found it initially interesting. It's that this article is saying that there are people that fear they will lose their job or face some sort of retaliation if they report the outbreak. So here,
along with that, towards the last section of the article, the very last thing, Julie writes, open quote, the people have been put at risk, people endangered. And this is from one of the GCC leaders. And I pray, and this is still part of the GCC leader's quote, and I pray that it doesn't turn into a huge outbreak that MacArthur is ultimately responsible for because he's not taking the steps to control it.
Okay. Yeah, and that's the last line in the article itself. So why is this interesting to us? I mean, we briefly talked about it. One of the issues was, and we're really not exploring, we're not taking sides here. I mean, we're happy to do that if we need to. But I think one of the things we found interesting is this a case of staff actively putting fear into people, like intentionally, like putting fear into them so that they don't report? Or is it more a case of people feeling this way, though that is not the intention of staff?
Yeah. I mean, that's actually one of the things that stuck out to me the most about this article had been, the whole premise about it is leadership, or MacArthur himself specifically, intimidating staff and leaders to not report. Well, how much of that is actually true, right? How much of that is actually, leadership actively intimidating individuals, or how much of it is people are like, what's going to happen if I did say something? So maybe, right. So like you said, how much of it is felt intimidation, mm-hmm. and how much of it is actual intimidation? Because it's unfair in my opinion, it's unfair without that clarity to talk about John MacArthur specifically as the brand, right? Intimidating leaders if it's not actually the case.
Right. I mean, so it's like, for us, we want to know when they say when we read, they fear reprisals, mm-hmm. or some sort of, consequences. Why do they fear it? Were they told? Did they see examples of this happening? Or is it just simply that they're afraid because of, whatever reason?
Well, just because of the culture right now, because of how politicized and charged this conversation is. I mean, even within the article, here's the thing. It even talked about individuals not wanting to come forward or not wanting to report because they didn't want the church shut down.
Right.
And so that has nothing to do with John.
Yeah.
That has everything to do with, I'm going to throw it out there, government overreach. That has everything to do with fear of if I say anything, do we now give individuals, especially a church that's embroiled in this lawsuit against the county, do they now just give them fuel for the fire?
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on here that I think is interesting, especially as a pastor. On the one hand, some people are going to fear the response of leadership when they have no reason to. Yeah. I mean, at least not from those leaders. Like maybe they have had bad experiences in the past. Mm-hmm. Maybe they just, are drawing wrong conclusions. Sometimes people simply draw wrong conclusions about how leaders are going to respond that isn't fair. Sometimes they're drawing conclusions about how leaders are going to respond based on what they see, but not based on anything that is explicitly said.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they can draw conclusions based on what was said to them.
Yeah.
And because we don't have that level of clarity in the article, it's hard for us to know exactly what's going on. But regardless of whether it is mere perception without any foundation, perception based on what they have actually seen other people go through, or whether it was explicit, what does this put on leaders? What are some implications for leaders in this kind of a situation, mm-hmm. when some people in the congregation are fearing an inappropriate or negative response from elders?
Yeah, I mean, so if I was John, and I don't want to presume anything upon John, but if I was John, or if I was in that similar situation, I think I would ask the question, why is it that people feel that way, right? Like, is there anything that the elders or the leadership have done and need to repent of that has given the impression that there will be retaliation if you are just honest?
Right.
Because that's just, if someone is fearing being honest, then I got to ask, why do they fear that way? Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not saying, I'm not sure I see the clarity here to actually say that they've been like that.
Right.
But for an individual to feel that way, have a perception of that, it begs the question, what is it about how we are running things that is giving that impression?
Yeah. Is there anything that we're doing?
What's the truth in this? And maybe it was just misunderstanding.
Right. And listen, from my perspective, and I've interacted with a lot of churches that are led by pastors that are from masters, and they're all very different, like very great people, and some people that aren't so great, right? Just like coming out
mm.
of any school. But my experience, even belonging to churches that are staffed by MacArthur or master's graduates and people who function along those lines, they do tend to be heavier handed as leaders, more controlling than say we would be or some others. Now, again, that's not a universal thing. It's just something that I've experienced. But I think that for me, when I read an article like this, again, because it's not really my business, it's not my church. So I'm interested in reading about it and trying to learn. One of the things I want to take away is how do you shepherd people, lead people who are feeling this way about you as leaders? Because like maybe you do need to do some repenting as a leader. Maybe we have contributed to this unintentionally or intentionally. And then how do you help them to see that they can trust you? Because clearly there's a trust problem here among some of these people. They don't feel like they can trust their leadership. Now, like when I look back at Redeemer and the situations that we've been involved in, even together, we haven't always made everybody happy. Sometimes people are not happy with how we've done things.
Yeah.
And there are times when we don't apologize for that because we believe we did the right thing in the right way with the right attitude. And then there are times when we have to apologize. Hey, you know what? Even if we did the right thing, we didn't do it in the right way.
Yeah.
Whatever. But you still have to walk people through the situation, owning your own fault whenever necessary. In fact, what I do tend to see is that most of the people that were afraid to talk to us about something on the front end, after we get into it, they're like, wow, I'm really happy that you guys are not destroying me in the midst of what I'm bringing up.
Well, see, that's why I look back at this, right? And say, okay, how much of it's actually true and how much of it's just perceived, right? Because we've experienced where when you've had that opportunity to clarify, people are pretty responsive and they see, oh, you know what? I kind of assumed that you would react a certain way.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see it's not that case. And that's why I want to give, John and the church there, the benefit of the doubt that there must be some misunderstanding here.
Now, obviously, Julie spoke to, she says, multiple members. By the way, 2 is multiple. I don't know. It could be 20. I don't know. But multiple members of Grace Community Church who said they were scared about speaking out because of retribution. So there are people that feel or believe that the culture of that church is somewhat toxic, intimidating. Leaving this church in particular aside, that is a reality for a lot of churches.
Yeah.
We heard a lot of accusations about that concerning Mars Hill.
Yep.
So how does a church develop a culture of intimidation? What do you think are some of the things that happens inside a church among leadership that puts people on high alert and they start walking on eggshells?
Yeah. Well, I guess I could see it happening more readily in larger churches because as the church grows, it becomes more complex. And so managing and messaging becomes more complex. And so it's easier when there's only one voice, right? And so so because you're trying to steer this big ship, there's always got to be the commander. What they say goes, and it just, moves forward from there. But I've seen it in smaller churches as well. And so my experience in smaller churches, having been in churches where I would say there's that intimidation, that culture of fear, a lot of it has to do with the senior pastor being insecure, and I'm trying to think of the right word because it's not. Part of it's like they're unteachable, but they're unapproachable.
I think they're afraid because, I'm thinking the same thing. Like I've seen this, I've experienced it, and I'm aware of churches that are small right now that are going through this, where the leadership, a very small group of people, does in fact create a culture of fear in the people. And I think you saying that there is an insecurity there. There's an insecurity that they'll lose control.
Yep.
I think sometimes there is a level of insecurity or fear that people are going to do the wrong thing. Like I think that oftentimes people are heavy-handed, sometimes with good motives. Like they're going to be really heavy-handed because they're like an overbearing father. Don't be an overbearing father, but sometimes that's coming from a place of concern. And like, I want them to, walk the straight and narrow. And then, I do think sometimes it's just pride and arrogance, and they want to control people. They want to be the one in charge and be high and lifted up. I think that also, again, we're not talking about MacArthur's church here. We're talking in general. I think that legalism leads to this kind of a thing, because now you almost never know like what is out of bounds, or if you do know that these things are out of bounds, but these are extra biblical. And so now you're getting kind of like, I'm going to do those anyways. And now I'm like, can I talk about it? I don't really know what's going to happen. I think different forms of legalism can contribute to a culture of intimidation as well. I don't know.
And I think, so along the lines here, so something just kind of struck me about that last line that I read, which says, people have been put at risk, people endangered, the GCC leader said, and I pray it doesn't turn into a huge outbreak that MacArthur is ultimately responsible for, because he's not taking the steps to control it. So whether you have a large church like this or a small church,
right,
this is where it's important for elders to, I guess, take the pulse of the leadership, because it's really important that the leadership is united as one. Because here I get the sense, and this is me assuming something in this, and so my assumption might be wrong, but I think the lesson still is right. That it's important that leadership is united and take the pulse of the leadership, so that as you're moving forward, everyone's on the same page.
And you bear the responsibility together.
That's exactly it.
So I think, are you saying that this is kind of pointing at JMac, it's going to be all his fault, when in reality, in this model of a church, for sure, it should be the elders.
It should be the elders.
Because it's not, but even unless he's just functioning as a pope.
But he's not. I
don't have any reason
I don't see that here. I don't see that.
I don't have any evidence of that.
And so I'm saying this is not JMac. This is the church itself, the elders and the leadership together. But I'm saying even at a smaller church, right, is you need to address these things like together as elders are for us. We've kind of been walking through this, and there's been disagreements among us as elders.
Yeah, sometimes you're wrong.
As to how we're going to handle certain things and how we're going to navigate COVID, right? Because there's a lot of different scenarios that play out.
Yeah, there's different levels of sensitivity.
Yep.
There are people that have more knowledge than others on some of these facts.
Exactly.
Like Kevin McDunn. He's a guy that does a ton of research.
Correct. And so
and I have my feels.
Yeah, yeah. And you've got your feels. And so you have to navigate through all that together and work through it all together and come up with a plan together and then implement it together.
Yeah. And own it. Just own it. And when you mess up, and I mean, yeah, I'd be like, okay, I'll tell you right. So like we have to make these decisions about, how we're implementing masks and requiring them for one service and not requiring them for another and all that. And right now we're trying to figure out how are we going to do baptism? Because we've got people that are ready to get baptized, and, we're meeting in another church. So like, how are we going to pull this off? And if we don't do it there, do we bring it back to this building? And there are all kinds of complications. And it's like, we're trying to figure it out as elders right now. Like today, we're actually beginning to say, like, what are we going to do? And what we're not going to do is let one of us just ramrod the thing through in one direction. We're actually, we talk it out. And in the end, we all say, this is the wisest thing, and we move forward.
Yep.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
But you can read Julie Roy's article. Hey guys, Pastor Joe here. Now, if you're a listener of the podcast, you know how much Jimmy and I love Bible study tools and resources. Anything that helps us to unpack and understand and apply the Word of God. And throughout my life, I have benefited from a couple of very good study Bibles, which is why we are really excited that Doctrine and Devotion is sponsored by InterVarsity Press and the Bible Speaks Today study Bible. This new study Bible takes the highlights of the popular and beloved 55-volume commentary series, The Bible Speaks Today, and puts it into one study Bible, with commentary from popular English pastor theologians and edited by John Stott and Alec Mottier. This is a study Bible you should definitely pick up. Now, IVP is offering a special deal just for the listeners of Doctrine and Devotion. If you go to IVP's website, that's ivpress.com, and use the code Bible30, all one word, you'll get 30% off and free shipping. So that's IVPress, IVPRESS.com, and use the code BIBLE30. You'll get 30% off and free shipping of the Bible Speaks Today Study Bible. I think Jimmy, you said it. We were having wings and watching the Bears game.
Yeah, we were.
And when this had come up, and you had said, I really respect anybody that wants to hold leadership accountable and support those who are oppressed or mistreated or whatever. And I agree with that. And so I think that's a lot of what drives Julie, is that she's concerned for people that are being taken advantage of. But sometimes you run the risk then of maybe jumping the gun a little bit or a lot. I mean, I'm not saying in this case, but so, you want to read these kind of articles carefully and thoughtfully and prayerfully, because an investigative report isn't inspired, hopefully, like any good reporter. And I think Julie is a good reporter. They want to be accurate. They want to get things right, but even they sometimes do get things wrong. So check it out. We'll link to it in the show notes. You know what else we got? We got a number of people recently asking us about journaling.
Oh.
In fact, we've talked about journaling on here before, but and the reason I thought like, this is one we should actually address is because this guy has now like come on and said, hey, I want to know, how do I do this? Like, what are some things that I can actually do to start journaling? I'm interested, I'm hungry, I love God's word, and I think that journaling would be a good discipline for me. What's some advice that we can give to people who want to start journaling? And we're going to keep it simple, and we're going to keep it practical, okay? Because this is not a biblically mandated activity. It is a tool to help you engage in a biblically mandated activity, which is meditating on the word.
Well, see, that was the thing I was going to say. The first thing is keep it simple, because oftentimes when people start, like, want to try a new thing or to get into it, they think, oh, well, I'm going to go all in and buy the most expensive and
big,
complicated, journal or whatever, right?
Can you get the leather-bound $55 300-page journal?
Just any notebook will do. We enjoy the Lectern 1917 dotted. I enjoy that soft cover.
It's like what, like $19 or something?
$19, yeah.
It lasts me 3 months.
Yeah. So I like that. So start simple, and just start daily.
And don't be afraid to start small. Like a small journal like that. It's not very expensive, but you know what? If it's your first time, get a real thin Moleskine Cahier journal.
Oh, there you go.
So it's really thin. It's like 80 pages.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, it feels good when you fill up a journal, even if it's 80 pages. It feels disappointing when you peter out after 35 pages or 50 pages or even 80 pages when you've got another 150 to go after that, and you just stop using it. So don't be afraid to do that. I would also say on the front end of this, like, keep it simple. Find a way of writing things down that actually you find pleasant. So for some of you, that's going to be on a keyboard using a particular app, maybe on your phone using a particular app, maybe your iPad. I know Jimmy loves his iPad as well. I favor a pencil with a specific lead density and softness on paper. And it feels good for me to actually write it down that way and to do it that way. So whatever you do, make sure that the way that you're doing it is actually fun, like pleasant for you, something that you're like, oh, I like doing this. This particular way of doing it actually gets me interested in moving forward with it. It's a small, simple trick, but it's actually helpful. So what about in terms of journaling? They typically ask, I would say almost all of these people have asked, where do I start? And what should I be writing down?
Yeah, I would suggest, especially if you're doing it for personal study, you're journaling through as you're studying God's word. I would suggest the Ransom Method. Just start there.
Jimmy, some of our people are not going to know what the Ransom Method is.
Oh, there you go.
Explain that.
Well, it's this method for studying your Bible, your personal devotions.
It's the best method.
The best method that I came up with.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
One night in the shower.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think that's how it happened.
No? Oh, was it you and I over cigars?
No, I think it was even less than that. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, so I lost my train of thought.
Ransom Bible Study Method. Where do they?
Ransom Bible Study Method. Yeah. So I would start there. That's personally how I do my personal devotions. Is going through that.
And it's just a way of reading the text and asking certain questions that, Jimmy and I put this together. You can download it for free at doctrineanddevotion.com/ransom. Get it there. So you're saying use a template of some sort to help you interact with the scripture.
Correct.
And Ransom Bible Study is
I think it's a quick, and I think it's an easy template to use. And I
fruitful.
Think fruitful. I think it hits a lot of, it hits everything.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good method. I would say don't worry about how long your entries are.
Yeah.
My journaling historically has typically consisted of me writing down mostly observations from the passage that apply directly to me. So if I'm just journaling, if I'm just kind of writing that stuff down, not for Bible, not for sermon prep, for example. If I'm just journaling, I'm interacting with the text on a very personal level. I'm writing down like, this is something that, Joe, you need to be thinking about, you need to be pressing in on, or maybe it's a particular doctrine. Mm-hmm. But that's like it's a paragraph. It's a couple of sentences to a paragraph typically, and that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot to take away and to take seriously.
Yeah. Now I was gonna share this in a next week's bonus episode, but I'm gonna share it here as well.
Yeah.
So one of the things that as I'm going through the Ransom Bible Study Method now, years ago I read a book called Biblical Preaching by Haddon Robinson, right? And he talks about the big idea of the text. Kind of what is it? The subject and the complement, right? The question being asked, and then the answers to that question. So I've just gotten into the rhythm that as I'm reading a text, and again, this is part of the A part for Ransom, asking questions.
Yeah.
I'm making sure I hit all the questions that are being asked within the text, and then I'm looking for those answers. And from there, looking for what is the big idea here, like the summary of it all. And I think that's really, really important. And I think it's actually really good. It's a good rhythm to be in, even if you're never going to share this from the front.
Yeah.
But I think it's good for you because every time you go back to that passage, you're going to remember that.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to remember it. It's going to be something that sticks with you because we're not just reading or journaling for the sake of reading and journaling. We're reading and journaling and we're studying God's word for our sanctification and edification.
Yeah.
And to be challenged and convicted. And so it's really important that you're asking these questions of a text. And I think the whole subject complement mentality and looking for the big idea is crucial to that.
Yeah, another one would be Brian Chappell's fallen condition focus.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Yep. So like what sin, problem, or issue is this passage pointing toward or interacting with or answering? It's another good one. So I think all of it says like, where do you start? How do you start? The easiest way to start is to open up your Bible, read a paragraph and meditate on it and start to write down as you're interacting with these Ransom Bible Study Method questions or getting to the big idea in that particular passage. Sometimes people benefit from writing out a passage. They'll write out a few verses and they'll learn how maybe they'll commit it to memory. Writing down prayers, sometimes that's a good habit to do. Not everybody's going to use it as a Bible study journal. Sometimes it's just going to be, hey, here's what's on my mind.
Yep.
If you're doing that, then I would say definitely write down part of your prayer. And that's, I think, something that is helpful because journaling, in a sense, it's to get it onto the page, right? It's to get what's inside of you onto the page. And in writing it down, it forces you to articulate what's in your mind and in your heart. And until you articulate it, it's kind of mushy. So it's helpful in that way. Mm-hmm. So make it relevant to you. Write down what is important to you, what's going to be helpful. That'll help you remember it then and maybe throughout that day, but also something that you would go back to and look at. Now, what I do sometimes, let's say fairly often, is I'll write down the lyrics from a part of the lyrics from a song because I'm like, wow, this person in the world wrote this song that captures what I've been studying in this passage. So
can you give me an idea?
I'm going to give you an example. I just pulled it up because my last journal is already on the shelf over here. Mm-hmm. So I've got a new one that I'm breaking in this week. But there's a song by Motorhead. Okay, so no. Motorhead's not like that.
Oh, okay.
Motorhead's more like just hard rock.
Okay.
You know, it's a little kind of metally, but
All right. Go ahead.
so Motorhead, the great Motorhead, Lemmy Kilmister, who passed away recently. So he's got a song called Brotherhood of Man. Now, in liberal theology, they talked a lot about the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man being the essence of our theology. And as, you know, Protestants, as Reformed Baptists, when we look at the brotherhood of man, not the brotherhood in the church, but the brotherhood of man, we think of sin, total depravity.
Yeah.
You know, Imago Dei, yeah, but we've messed that up. So here is the last stanza, the last verse from Motorhead's song.
Same as the first.
Here's what it says. This is such a great depiction of the human condition. We are worse than animals. We hunger for the kill. We put our faith in maniacs, the triumph of the will. We kill for money, wealth, and lust. For this we should be damned. We are disease upon the world, brotherhood of man. Come on, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's a pretty biblical
That's pretty good.
perspective. So write down quotes, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's from a song or record things that are good for you and things that are good for you to share.
See, that's why I use GoodNotes for my iPad.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I do, you know, a lot of my journaling now.
It used to be Notability. Is that what
used
you
to be
used to do back in
Notability?
the day?
Yeah, but see, I like the highlighter.
Yeah. Jimmy will spend 20 minutes on how the highlighter, when he uses the highlighter, it goes underneath whatever he's highlighting.
Exactly, instead of over top of it. So it's kind of a big deal for me.
you nerd out on it so hard.
I know.
10 minutes for sure you'll talk about it.
But now that they've updated it, because before Notability, you could have it on your phone, iPad, and your computer.
Right.
But now GoodNotes 5 allows you to do that as well. So I've kind of phased out of good Notability.
Yeah, and it's good notes too.
Yeah, it's GoodNotes. Good.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's part of the thing is I like having the passage, or I like having quotes or lyrics, or kind of everything you're talking about. I could screenshot the photo of it,
right?
Put it right in there, and then I got it just saves me so much more time. Plus, my handwriting is like chicken scratches, and so like trying to do a whole chapter or
your handwriting's a mess, dude.
It really is.
Yeah, Jimmy sends me his sermon notes. He's like, "Hey man, you got any thoughts? I think it's pretty tight," and I'm like, "I can read 70% of it." And that looks really good.
Oh, perfect. You know what? That's a C.
Yeah, but boy,
you know what?
What is it? 30%?
Yep.
I couldn't make it.
Yep,
out,
that's a C.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta, especially for your sermon notes, man. You should like tighten it up a little bit. Spend
a
little more. All I can do is slow down a little bit.
No, it's just for me. No,
yes. Because then you send the picture of your sermon notes to our small group leaders.
Well, they should also be paying attention. During the sermon.
Yeah, but the nice thing is that sometimes there are things.
No, see, I can't slow down. My brain just goes like, and I'm just like,
okay,
and I can't, because then I lose.
Yeah,
I start here, and my mind is here, and if I slow down, I lose what was here.
Okay, see, yeah, it's a smart person thing. When you can slow down.
See, I can't. See, I'm all the way down. All the way down.
All right, let's talk about one more thing.
All right, go.
We get this request a lot, which is, hey man, been listening to the podcast. Really want to find a Reformed church now. I want to find a Reformed church.
Okay.
Where do I go to find a Reformed church? And there's not an easy answer for that. I mean, we could give them an easy answer and say, like, well, if you're looking for a Presbyterian church, you can look not at PCUSA, but PCA. But that's a pretty mixed bag as well. If you're looking for a Reformed church, you don't go to the SBC. You might look at Reformed Baptist Network.
Yep.
So there are places online, and there's this thing called, what's it called, Jimmy?
Google.
Google, yes, Google. You can also Google in your area.
I knew this is where we're going to go with it.
You could just like look it up.
I thought you were going to try to be helpful.
No, I want to be helpful. But first I have to say, did you try Google? It's a pretty awesome thing. So definitely try Google and look. But again, if you're in Michigan and you type in Reformed Church, like it's pretty much every church calls itself Reformed. Yeah. And it means almost nothing. So
yeah, it's CRC.
So when you're looking for a Reformed church, or when you ask us these questions, basically what we don't know is, are you looking for a real Reformed church, which means it's confessional. It'll adhere to one of the historic confessions, whether that is the Westminster or the 1689 for Baptists. Or are you looking for a church that's just Calvinistic?
Yeah. Right.
Where they have a high view of God's sovereignty and salvation and all of that. And so if you are, then really what you need to do is, again, go online and do some research about the churches that are within driving distance.
Yeah.
You know, if it's called like Oasis or something, probably not going to be a Reformed church. But if it's got the word Providence in it, that's probably a Reformed church.
Yeah. Sovereign God.
Now, but look at their statement of faith.
Yep.
Look at the books. Do they have any reading lists or anything like that?
Yep.
They can do that if they're looking for. And they can also, and believe it or not, man, go onto social media and just say, hey, I'm looking for a solid church that fits these markers in this area. You'll be surprised how many people will jump on and feed into that. But
don't ask Joe. Just don't ask Joe.
Yeah, because I'll just say, just go Google it.
Google it or go online and ask other people.
Yeah. Because they're good, but they'll know what I don't know. Like sometimes I get like, hey, what's a good church in, backwater, Belly Swamp, Tennessee? I'm like, I have no idea.
Belly Swamp,
yeah, backwater
Tennessee.
Belly Swamp.
Gotcha.
That's an actual city.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, look it up. Google it.
Nope.
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. So even if you said Nashville, I'd be like, I know of a couple, but not a ton.
Mm-hmm.
So, but maybe more important than that is just figuring out how to find a good church, because you can have a good church that's not thoroughly reformed.
Yep, that's right.
In fact, if you're limiting yourself to reformed churches, you might say like, well, I'm going to have to drive 2 hours to go to church every Sunday, which is not ideal. So Jimmy, what should they be looking for they're looking for a good church. They just want to get in somewhere and start learning and growing and developing. And
yeah, I mean, a number of things I've been looking at. Again, the statement of faith that Joe was talking about, do they believe in the inerrancy of Scripture, right? I would be listening to their sermons online.
Yeah, it's
a little bit as well.
Place to go,
right? Hearing what is it that's being preached from the pulpit, and I would be looking at their constitution as well. How are they ran? Right?
Who's in charge?
Yeah, I definitely want to know that. I'd go look at the bio of the leadership, and to see, okay, what's their experience?
Do they even have a podcast?
They don't need a podcast, Joe.
Well, I mean, it's not reformed, I guess. Yeah, I think listening to the sermons is a really good. You get a good temperature of at least what the church is trying to be, because they're going to be hitting. Hopefully, they're going to be hitting relevant issues for that particular church. They're going to be preaching doctrines, preaching through the word, but don't skip. I mean, it sounds boring reading the Constitution. That's important.
Yeah.
And statement of faith as well. I mean, and when you visit, listen, it's going to take more than one visit, unless it's just horrible. If it's horrible, then just get out there now. Yeah. But if it's good, then, I am going to really place a high value on the preaching that I'm listening to and the people that I'm going to be fellowshipping with. What are they like? And I know one of the things...
The preaching, the people, and the praise. And 3 P's.
Oh. Preaching, people, and potlucks.
Praise. I said praise.
That's right. Okay. So, and by that you mean worship?
Yep.
Okay. So, if we're just using those 3, right? So you're going to be able to get a pretty good grasp on the preaching, because you can listen to that online as well. It's going to take you some time to figure out the people. You have to get into some of those relationships, maybe join a small group or a Sunday school class. And again, praise, you can figure that out pretty quick.
Or even how hospitable they are when you show up.
Absolutely.
A standoffish hospitality team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Bye. Nah. Bye.
So Jimmy's small group is a really strong, we call them community groups. And Jimmy's is really strong. And what all of our groups aim to be is a gathering of brothers and sisters who actually know each other, minister to each other, enjoy each other and the fellowship, and grow together. So it's not about Bible study, though there is certainly teaching and biblical discussion and opening of the scriptures and all that. But the emphasis for us is on building that gospel-centered community in our homes. Now, Jimmy does really, really well at this. It's probably less because of him and more because of the people that he just happens to get in God's providence, but whatever. Okay, whatever. I get stuck with people like the Mawns.
Oh, way to go.
No, I'm kidding. Mawns are awesome. All right. So, but you do a really good job of pushing this idea, and not even pushing. I think you just do a really good job of modeling for the people like, hey, we are friends. We hang out. We grow and learn and pray together. We have good times. Yep. And so your group is very sticky. It's attractive. Like people.
Yeah, everyone keeps trying to get in. Yeah.
Yep. And And Jimmy's going to have to say no, or he's going to have to multiply.
Yeah, I know. Definitely have to multiply soon.
Now, Jimmy, if people want to join your small group, if people want to come to Redeemer and join your small group, how do they get in contact with you on social media?
Well, with me on social media?
Yeah.
At JFowler63.
Nobody's going to remember that. What's ours?
Well, you just have to get in contact with me.
Yeah, they can still use D&D.
Oh, okay. Well, they could at Doc and Devo.
Okay. See, no numbers. No numbers. Jay Fowler.
On Instagram and Twitter.
That could be Jennifer Fowler, Jeremy Fowler.
Facebook.com/Doctrine and Devotion.
You can go to Facebook.
Yep. You can go to drdevotion.com. There you can contact us. You can sign up for the email blast, or you can even hit up the store.
Yeah.
JoFoStore.com. And, maybe grab some gear.
Yeah, there's some gear there.
And you know what, Joe? We do have Fresh Pod every Monday and Thursday.
That's true.
We
do drop sometimes bonus episodes.
Just like this one, right? And over on the website,
what do we got over there?
We got some blog posts,
articles. Call them articles. It makes them sound smarter.
All right. Peer-reviewed articles.
Yes.
And some video content.
Some high quality, professional grade,
like the original stuff. Yeah. Not the stuff that people are trying to knock off now these days.
Yeah, no. Not the copies of the copies.
Not the copies of the copies.
No, not the busted Xerox.
That's right.
Got the original stuff.
You got the original stuff there on the videos there.
Yeah, so join Jimmy's small group by checking out our social media.
Fresh Pod every Monday and Thursday.
You just said that.
I know.
Say it again.
I know, because I want to make sure they remember it. Later.